All right, it's 7 o'clock. I will now call to order the Raymore Arts Commission meeting for Tuesday, March 13th. Could we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Lawrence? Here. Commissioner Paris?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Since there are only 3 of us, we do not have a quorum to vote on anything tonight, but we will continue with the meeting and do staff reports, et cetera. So we'll stand and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have no public comments or presentations. We'll move right into the staff reports. Mike?
Thank you. Wanted to presented the budget in the packet tonight. Not a lot of change from our meeting last month. The only items that will change going into April, we will see the second invoice for the Memorial Park mural going forward, and so that budget item will change, as will the farmers market sponsorship. At our April meeting, we'll be bringing that back before the commission, if the commission is interested in still sponsoring the music at the farmers market. I'll be getting a full list of the artists that sponsorship helped pay for last year, as well as take any suggestions on if there are folks that you'd specifically like to see at the farmers market, and so we'll see that moving forward. The other item that you'll see, Summer Scene, we'll be getting an update in just a second. But also the professional development line. Although we currently have not spent any money in that, we'll see the $200 for the MACA conference, and the registration there will be going in that line. And so that will be a full accounting of everything after the 1st of April. The other thing I also wanted to talk a little bit about, and it sort of marries right with the budget, is our FY 2018 work plan. This is the document that really guides a lot of the projects that we as staff undertake on behalf of the Arts Commission. And it also gives the Arts Commission a great roadmap for the projects that are coming up in the fiscal year, things that are going to be, that they need to accomplish, and it ties them directly to the individual strategies that we had in the community conversations 2 years ago, when we talked specifically about what we would like to see in the way of arts in the community. I'm bringing this today because I'd like for our next session, or possibly in May, would like to start taking ideas for how we would like to either update the work plan or change the work plan going forward, because we're going to need to begin thinking about our budget request from the City Council for FY19. It always gets a little confusing because we are barely even halfway through this fiscal year, but now we need to start thinking about the next fiscal year. And so this is a good time to really read back through our current work plan, really wrap your mind around what each of the strategies mean, if they're still relevant, if we need to do any kind of updating. And I'd like to hear that, directly from commissioners, especially if you have specific ideas that we'd like to add into this. And so just wanted this here as a reference item, just so that you can begin looking at this and begin kind of brainstorming some of those ideas.
Mike, is it possible that we could do a work session for this review?
Absolutely, and I think that would be a great idea.
Okay, and according to the bylaws, we're allowed to have one work session per quarter, and so this would be the first one, or would this be a second work session?
This would be your first work session.
Oh, right,
in the first or second quarter.
Okay. I think this would be appropriate because it does necessitate a lot of discussion. I think maybe we should plan for a work session in May.
Okay, that would be great. And then the final item on here, behind the work plan, is the Parks and Trails Public Art Plan Overview. This was developed by the Public Art Committee when they originally began looking at the places within city parks that they wanted to place either sculpture or painting, some sort of art feature. As we've moved forward, we've seen things like Hawk Ridge Park and TB Hanna are now going to be under construction this summer. This may be a good time as part of this overall discussion and review at that work session to take a look at whether we want to move those up in the priority list or if we wanted to keep them where they are, especially as we start looking at areas where we know, like Ward Park or the RAC also under construction. These projects have kind of moved around in the timeline, and so it may be worth taking a look at whether or not we would like to move those to a different area in the priority list.
Mike, is that something that goes first before the Public Arts Committee?
Correct.
Okay, so perhaps that could be on an agenda for them before our work session, so that then they can bring that to the work session and we can incorporate that into the overall plan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that is it for staff reports on the budget.
All right. Do any of the commissioners have questions for Mike before we leave that?
Actually, so thinking the Public Art Committee, we've scheduled our meeting for next month to be before the April commission meeting, and we already had kind of one thing on that agenda. Would we also deal with this on our agenda in April?
Yes.
Unless we called another meeting, right?
Or as a committee, we could call another meeting
Okay.
and as a separate item, but this may be good to have on that as well.
Yeah, okay.
When do you usually have your meetings, your public art? Is it the beginning of the month or middle? Has it been?
Been the Thursday before the Tuesday of the.
Oh,
So
okay.
like we met last Thursday morning.
Okay, so possibly if we
Others
wanted
met.
to, if we wanted to do a work session in May, we could push it to the end of the, we could have a regular meeting in May and then have the work session later in May after the May Public Arts
Right.
meeting, so that you wouldn't cram too much into one Public Art Committee meeting. Okay, well, we can work it out, so. Any other questions for Mike? Lauren?
What is the art exhibit program? What is that?
In the, which specific section?
Are you talking about the budget?
Yeah, on the budget.
That's, well, the art exhibit, is this the gallery?
Okay.
Our hope was that we could use some of the funding in there either for, before we purchased the hanging system, hanging the art in here took a lot of time and resources just to get the items on the wall. But with the hanging system, it's now very flexible and much easier just to hang the artwork. What we could be using those funds for is if the commission or the Public Art Committee specifically would like to purchase any of the artwork that's come through the chamber, or if there was any other specific promotion that we wanted to do of this chamber here in the Chamber Gallery, as well as the Centerview Gallery that will be screening here shortly.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think if we could keep it there, I mean, a budget's just a budget, we can always move it around, but for now, I mean, the Public Arts Committee might decide there's a piece of art they want to buy from the exhibit, so, I don't know.
No, absolutely. I just didn't know what it
Oh,
was,
okay.
so.
Yeah, that's what it is, it's the gallery. And speaking of gallery, are we still on hold for the renovation work out front there?
We are anticipating renovation work will begin later this summer. We have an RFP that had gone out for architectural design work, and we'll be looking at those final applicants at the end of this month.
Okay. Thank you. Melissa, you want an update on Summer Scene real quick?
Yes.
I know we have a meeting tomorrow, right?
Yes,
Am I
I'm
right?
not going to give away everything. but,
Okay, good.
I just really have one big update. Last night at the city council meeting, we were given the full go to have our alcohol sales. So that is really exciting, and I think it's going to add a new element to the festival. So that's really all I have right now.
Well, that's good. I know you were concerned about that, but I think it will enhance the experience for some of the adults at least. So.
I agree.
And you have a meeting tomorrow at 3, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, committee updates. Mike, are you going to do the public art update, or are we tabling that until next meeting? Or do you want to just give an update?
We can provide a quick update, but it is also one of our items, our only item on the agenda tonight, was the revised mural artwork that was submitted by Jacob Duncan. Committee took a look at that and approved the artwork for consideration by the commission tonight.
Okay, well, that'll have to be tabled to our April meeting, unfortunately.
Do you have a thing that you can, I mean, the revised, is it on here and I'm just not seeing it?
Scroll down through your packet, it
Okay,
should be
okay,
the
sorry.
second to last or third to last page.
It's very cool for you
Yeah.
guys to look at, even though I know we can't vote on whatever. but
I actually have seen it, and it's wonderful.
yeah,
Wonderful.
He's put in a lot of work for his money,
Right.
and
It'll be exciting.
it is
so.
exciting.
All right, so we'll,
One
oh,
other
I'm
thing
sorry.
about public art, and we did discuss at our meeting last week, sort of, actually, this probably was a jumping ahead to looking at next year, kind of, and talking about new ways to get public art to happen that we don't necessarily pay for through the Arts Commission. And one of the things that we've talked about in the past is getting, certainly now we've got the endowment thing that we can work through, but also we talked about engaging neighborhoods. And since we have like, how many subdivisions in Raymore, 125 or something like that, seems like kind of a logical way to go at it. But what we talked about at our meeting was that that the Public Art Committee needs to talk a bit with the community development people so that we go about this in a way that they wouldn't ultimately say you can't do that because of this or that. Or they may have some suggestions of how to interact with homeowners associations and Foxwood Springs and whatever. So that's kind of one of the things that's on our, for next month, what we talked about, and Mike was going to get, I don't know, Mr. Carteret or whoever from that department so that we can discuss with them, sort of the way we've cooperated with Parks and Rec. Seems like, you know, those things ought to all weave together. So that is sort of already on our agenda for which works into the next year's plan. So.
Well, that kind of brings up a question that I had about the work plan, and we can talk about this in our work session, but one of the things on the work plan was to interact with Parks and Rec to talk about additional art classes offerings for the public. So I think, I don't think that's been done one-on-one to this point, but it, you know, is something we should consider going forward, just to make sure that we're not overlapping programs, or that, you know, there's some benefit of shared minds, you know, coming up with ideas. So, but that we can put in that work session as well. Okay, is there anything else? Okay.
Nothing for staff
Anybody?
reports. Nope.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
One other question. I was looking at the budget and the work plan. What happened to banners? I mean, do we have banners? We paid for all of those brackets, and we don't have any banners anymore, right?
We currently have a set of banners up.
Do we? And I'm just not seeing them. Bad on me.
They are currently the only location that we have the banner brackets up are around Municipal Circle. We had and I want to remember correctly, the holiday banners had gone up. Currently we have just a standard, it's kind of like a welcome to Raymore design. As we get closer to summer scene, we will have the Relax and Raymore banners going up. And then the commission had also purchased, and the timing was just unfortunate. They had also purchased the larger banners for the light poles that would go along 58 Highway. However, at the same time, we also purchased those light poles, and so they were no longer they'd been owned by KCP&L. And now that they are owned by us, we are responsible for actually hanging those banners, and we don't yet have the ability to hang banners at that height. And so
We don't have cherry pickers?
we have a cherry picker, but it doesn't quite
Does it go up
reach.
that high?
Right. And so one of the things that we're looking at is, are there other locations that we could use those banners rather than directly on 58? And we're just current, which then also tipped off a light pole inventory by our Public Works Department. And so, you know, it was the Arts Commission's influence on another department there, kind of showing itself.
Well, but it's all good. I mean, and
Absolutely.
actually now I do recollect the banners out here. I should say, I do notice those. But I was just wondering, light poles are a weird thing in this city. Trying to get, I mean, living in Foxwood Springs, which is a private thing, we own the light poles there. Trying to get interacting with the city and KCP&L was a nightmare. But it's been straightened out now because we figured out who owns and is responsible, but it ain't easy. And I think the logic of the city owning those things makes a lot of sense, but the turnover and the realignment of all that was problematic for a citizen.
Okay. With that, if we have no more Public Art Committee conversation, quickly I'll go into the Education Event Working Group. As you know, next Thursday, we are having our paint and sip party, and we have a full house. Even before we advertised, we got a full complement of 30 people. So the art teacher is quite excited. I was over there tonight to review. She was showing me all her supplies, what she wants to do, her sample work that she's bringing, just kind of talking about her method of teaching. So it should be quite fun. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and that is next Thursday night. We haven't had another meeting, but we're going to try to shoot for something for April. And I've got a few ideas. Becky and Lauren and I can talk about them, but that I think is the 14th of April. We didn't have anything for March. There was just no time to get anything ready. And with the paint and sip party, I think the goal is to have something every month, keep us visible every month some way. So we definitely will have something for April. And going forward, in fact, I'm meeting with Laura Richardson on the 30th to talk about her possibility of teaching a rock painting class. So hopefully we'll have something more lined up. And I don't think, Lauren, did you have any updates? Okay. Well, we cannot do our consent agenda because we don't have a quorum, nor can we vote on any new business. So unless there's any commissioner comments or any other things that the staff want to mention.
The only thing I did want to mention, and sitting at your dais, is, and to go along with tonight's agenda item, Jacob was able to provide a source sheet for the artwork. And so what the sheet will inform, or the sheet connects directly to each of the images on the mural and informs of what it is and kind of where he sourced it from. Really is kind of interesting to be able to look through and see where each of the images that he was able to put together and how it, either directly connects to Cass County's history or Raymore's history as it all tied together.
I think this would be somehow great to have the source document framed somewhere, if we could attach it to the wall or somewhere so that people could understand. Mm-hmm. Because quite truthfully, I would doubt that a lot of people would understand why those things are in the picture. And this would be great if we could have like a billboard type thing with the source document there too.
Absolutely.
And one last comment about that, and this you can do in our next meeting. Could you remind us about the maintenance agreement? Who's responsible for what, and
of course,
if there's any follow-up with Jacob, if he has to redo something, just kind of have that as a discussion point? Okay.
And to kind of walk through what our process will be, once the commission approves the artwork or the design of the artwork, Jacob will be signing, there will be a notice to proceed where he will be notified that he has 45 days to respond to the approval of the artwork. He will then sign a second contract that will include all of those warranties and the kind of what to do in the case of vandalism and so on, will be covered in that contract. And then from there, we'll begin the actual construction, or we call it the construction part process, but the creation process. And we'll have that outlined in that contract. And so we'll know for sure what deadlines he'll be hitting and what his work schedule will be. One of the things that he had told me was he was planning on doing this when he starts to work. He wants to do it later in the summer only because he gets to a point where when he does the full mural sketching, he brings a projector, projects the image on the wall, and then sketches it out all in one night. And so he moves pretty quickly once he has everything sketched out and is able to paint fairly quickly. And so what we really may be waiting on is just the actual sealing and cleaning of the wall before he gets there to start working.
Okay.
You know, one thing I noticed on the budget, and when I was looking at it earlier, there's a $2,000 piece in there for community activity around the mural. Jacob doesn't, so we don't really have a plan for that, do we?
As part of his initial contract and what we had negotiated was if he was going to hold a community paint day or invite the community in to paint, or hold some sort of a class out there explaining and talking about his paint process, then we would pay him up to an additional $2,000 based on what that event was. As of this point, I've not heard of anything, and so that we would just hold on to.
He's a very modest, soft-spoken guy, so I would expect that would not be his favorite thing to do. However, I have to say, your description of his process, I would really like to be there, and I'll bet a lot of people would like to be there. And one of the most exciting things that's happened to us in the last, I don't know when, was being when Chet put up the seed and seeing that process. And, we hung around for hours, Harry and I did. And it was thrilling. And I don't know, maybe the better thing would be to film that and then show it at some point. And both Chet and Jacob are these sort of modest guys that don't like to be in the spotlight, but their process is fabulous. And that's meant a lot to be able to observe that and sort of feel like part of that. And I'll bet there are lots of community members, kids and adults alike, who would be fascinated to see him do that. So could we maybe think about, maybe there's a way to do it where it doesn't put him on the spot and make him be a performer, but maybe we could film it and have it available on our website, or do a night at Centerview or something where we did something connected with that, because we've put this in the budget, and it's kind of there, and it is. I'm just saying, from my standpoint, that was such a thrilling thing to observe and kind of be part of. So I don't know how much to talk to him about it, because he's the creator of the thing, but how we could involve the community in observing that happen without impeding his process in any way, I think is worth thinking about, especially if it's not going to happen now for several months. We've got a little bit of time to plan that. Do we have a filmmaking? Whoa, why did I ask that?
But between myself and Melissa, I am sure this will be very well documented.
Yeah, particularly as we think about attending the MACA conference, that kind of thing can be used to promote the city of Raymore at conferences like that. So definitely I know that puts more work on your table, but
But just the video, I mean, I know you've got a lot of still shots of Chet, but if we, I mean, I would love to see Jacob out there with his spray gun
yeah, I'd
doing
like to
this.
watch that. I have no clue how that's done.
So I don't know how we work that out. Maybe a few of us and then somebody with a video camera. Because I think it'd be a cool thing for anybody to see, really.
I think that'd be great.
So,
And we will definitely get that figured out once we get
okay,
like I said, the official notice with Jacob, and then we'll have everything kind of in paper that we can work from.
Well, normally we would take a vote to adjourn, but we can't even do that, so I don't know. I mean, I guess unless there's anything else, we're adjourned. So
That's
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.